Charismaphobia, the fear of being or getting unattractive due to the culturally driven aesthetical standards of physical attractiveness and beauty. The concept of beauty is as old as humans and has been prevalent in almost all the cultures worldwide. The recorded use of cosmetics by humans also goes back to ancient Egyptians. Beauty has been defined as a property of an object that produces a pleasurable experience in the perceiver, that is, anything could be beautiful if it pleases the senses. The properties of an object that can attract the perceiver may include balance, proportion, symmetry, complexity, contrast, clarity, etc. The beauty of an object, however, is determined by the subjective perception of the perceiver. A famous saying, "Beauty is in the eye of the beholder," reflects the same concept. The concept of beauty in humans has been explained through different psychosocial dimensions. The evolutionary perspective heavily focuses on the survival of the fittest, whereby humans, through a process of evolution, have learned certain physically attractive attributes which help them to achieve social recognition. The most important of these physically attractive attributes are the ones which are related to human reproduction, that is, physical attraction of a person to the opposite sex which could further result in reproductive and sexual activities. Social psychologists view beauty in a broader psychosocial context and argue that beauty, especially a stereotype for women, is quite essential for social recognition and is associated with several positive attributes such as high intelligence, social competence, friendliness, likability, and leadership skills. Human beauty is also referred to a person's inner qualities and essence. Both facial and inner beauty are usually interlinked. Facial beauty is rated by averageness, sexual dimorphism, youthfulness, and symmetry. The standards of beauty and physical attractiveness are defined by culture and differ for men and women. These standards are not always the same and have been changing from time to time. Fat and chubby women were ideal from 15th to 18th century. The 19th century started imposing several unnatural beauty standards for women in Western cultures such as very close-fitted dress and narrow waist. These standards, however, were changed once again at the end of 19th century and fleshy women were considered more attractive. In the start of 20th century, athletic bodies for women were liked. Larger breasts remained a fashion in the middle of 20th century. The late 20th century required narrow waist, flat stomach, long legs, hemmed stockings, garters, and high-heeled shoes. In our times, men are globally expected to be physically and socioeconomically strong to be attractive for women. Skin color is generally not an important factor in men's attractiveness. Females prefer bearded men over clean-shaven. For women, beauty has been regarded as a weapon to market themselves socially. Females with thin jawline, small chin and nose, prominent cheekbones and plump, and fuller lips are considered attractive. Women's waist-to-hip ratio (WHR) is also a main emphasis in beauty. Low WHR and large buttocks are reviewed as highly attractive. Large buttocks increase the attractiveness by making low WHR. Large breast size is also reviewed as symbol of beauty in women. It all contributes to the hourglass shape of body that accentuates the figure of a woman. Complexion is also an important factor in the beauty of a woman. Lighter skin color is found more attractive than dark in many societies including the Black. Multicultural studies suggest that men prefer women with lighter skin than the usual skin tone in that area. Adiposity plays negative role in both males and females. Lean body with no excessive fat deposit is praised. Apart from these general trends, the specific standards of beauty vary worldwide. People tend to conform to their own culture and adapt to the standards set by their society. People acquire standards of beauty according to the different ecological conditions through learning and agree upon some characteristics they find collectively attractive. The role of print, electronic, and social media has also been established in this regard. Some cultures give more weightage to face, and others pay attention to body. Korean beauty is all about flawless pale complexion with double eyelids and pointed chin conversely. Japanese prefer elongated face structure with slanted eyes, sharp chin, and chubby cheeks. Chinese ideal face has relatively slim and thin face with lantern jaw. Caucasian face has masculine appearance with angular or square face shape, almond-shaped eyes, prominent cheeks, and fuller lips. The ideal African face has small lips and eyes, narrower nose, and slender chin. Brazil embraces hourglass shape with broad hips and large buttocks. Black South Africans rely on color cues to rate the attractiveness, whereas white Scottish people rate according to shape cue. Social psychology sees physical attractiveness as a core human characteristic which is the basis to explain other psychosocial attributes of a person. Researchers argue that physical attractiveness is a form of capital that can be used for social gains and dominance. People prefer to see attractive faces. Physically attractive people are more accepted, more positive, more helpful, more intelligent, more friendly, less criminal, better students, more likely to be employed, and hired on higher wages. Physical attractiveness is a particularly important and dominant variable in dating and mate selection. Women want to conform to the social standards and be praised by the society. Female attractiveness is measured by her beauty and men's attractiveness is associated to socioeconomic status. Charismaphobia is one of the latest discoveries of Dr. Sukoon. It is based on his frequent clinical observations of women with anxiety related to getting unattractive. He tried to find a proper label for this condition. While exploring the clinical aspects of fear of unattractiveness, he explored the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders and gathered some relevant facts. Body dysmorphic disorder, formerly known as dysmorphophobia, refers to preoccupation with one or more perceived defects or flaws in physical appearance that are not observable or appear slight to others. The category of other specified obsessive compulsive and related disorder mentions body dysmorphic-like disorder with actual flaws, in which the defects or flaws in physical appearance are clearly observable by others. The unattractiveness in charismaphobia is not related to defects or flaws in physical appearance. Being not as beautiful as others or aging and its outcomes cannot be called defects or flaws. The unattractiveness within the construct of charismaphobia is based on the social and cultural norms of being and not being attractive. Adjustment disorders, another category in DSM-V under trauma and stressor-related disorders, seemed comparatively more relevant, but it also does not exactly elaborate the concept of unattractiveness related to charismaphobia. The symptoms for adjustment disorders include emotional and behavioral symptoms in response to an identifiable stressor which produces unjustified distress involving cultural factors. The adjustment disorders requires 3 months from the onset of the stressor and can also be specified with depressed mood, anxiety with mixed anxiety and depressed mood, with disturbance of conduct, with mixed disturbance of emotions and conduct, and unspecified. Apart from the DSM-5, Dr. Sukoon also explored 2 other conditions mentioned in the literature. Geriskophobia is a label for an abnormal or persistent fear of getting older or aging and leads to psychological distress. It is not women-specific though and does not incorporate the cultural pressure for women to stay attractive. Dorian Gray syndrome is another phenomenon and deals with overlapping concepts of narcissistic personality, dysmorphophobia, and paraphilia. Like body dysmorphic disorder, it also focuses more on the physical defects or flaws. Dr. Sukoon concluded that the understudied concept, that is, fear of unattractiveness due to social pressure and resulting in lower self-esteem, anxiety, sense of failure, and sense of being ostracized, was not given an appropriate label and could be explored further. Dr. Sukoon, thereafter, carried out a research to define the symptoms of charismaphobia and to measure the prevalent levels of the understudied construct in association with the possible psychosocial factors involved. His study involved 2,904 participants in 4 phases. Initial interviews were conducted with 62 female clients, 30 cosmetic dermatologists, and 73 beauticians in the first phase of the study. The second phase of the study, development and the principal component analysis, involved 344 conveniently selected participants including 101 men and 243 women. The third phase of the study, exploratory factor analysis, involved 1,407 conveniently selected participants. The fourth phase of the study, confirmatory factor analysis and convergent validity, involved 988 conveniently selected participants. A semi-structured clinical interview sheet was used in the first phase of the study. The main objective of these interviews was to identify the possible habits and psychopathological behaviors in relation to the fear of unattractiveness. Based on the findings of the first phase of the study, a new scale, Charismaphobia scale, was developed in the second phase of the study and was validated in the third and fourth phases of the study. The Generalized Anxiety Disorder Measure, the Narcissistic Personality Inventory, and the short version of Obsessive-Compulsive Inventory were also used to measure the convergent validity of Charismaphobia scale. The data gathered was recorded in the statistical package for social sciences. It was cleaned by analyzing missing values, unengaged responses, outliers, linearity, homoscedasticity, multicollinearity, skewness, and kurtosis. Exploratory and confirmatory factor analyses were conducted to measure the reliability and validity of the scale. Charismaphobia intends to comprehend all the unattractiveness-related symptoms under one label, by differentially excluding the related mental conditions such as body dysmorphic and dysmorphic-like disorders, adjustment disorders, Gariskophobia, and Dorian Gray syndrome. Charismaphobia, as simply defined by Dr. Sukoon, is the fear of unattractiveness. It can be present in men and women both. It further includes two conditions which are a fear of being unattractive, and b fear of getting unattractive after being regarded as attractive earlier in life. The criterion and judgment for attractiveness, in both these conditions, is obtained through social recognition. The clinical symptoms of charismaphobia, as discovered in the current study, include the excessive and persistent presence of the following: having a strong desire to be socially appreciated for physical attractiveness and bodily features alone. B. Having a strong desire to dominate others through physical attractiveness alone. C. Having a strong desire to look significantly younger than the chronological age. D. Having a strong belief to be comparatively better than others, based on physical attractiveness and bodily features alone. E. Spending unjustified time on the internet to follow latest fashion trends. F. Being extremely sensitive and selective in dressing. G. Having anxious thoughts for being regarded as unattractive by others. H. Taking medically unjustified measures to get or stay attractive. The excessive nature of the presence of the symptoms discussed above can be calculated by the norms established in the study or by conducting similar studies in one's own culture. The recommended, persistent, nature of the presence of the symptoms discussed above is 6 months. That is, the required symptoms need to be present since the last 6 months to be labeled as charismaphobic. Furthermore, to label a person with charismaphobia, symptoms G and H must be present, which refer to the main theme of charismaphobia, that is, anxiety. Based on the clinical observations by Dr. Sukoon, the first phase of the study was targeted to explore the clinical features of a newly discovered phenomenon, that is, fear of unattractiveness, and to label it with a suitable title. The review of the literature and the initial interviews with 62 selected clients, 30 cosmetic dermatologists, and 73 beauticians, established the common habits and behaviors involved in the fear of unattractiveness. Based on the findings of the initial interviews of Phase 1 of the study, Dr. Sukoon developed a scale in the second phase of the study. The scale comprised of 37 items and was presented to a panel of 5 clinical psychologists for determining its face validity, which was found accurate. The response format was 5 points Likert scale, including extremely false, slightly false, do not know, slightly true, and extremely true. The instructions of the scale required the respondents to keep the last 6 months in mind while giving their responses. 18 items were discarded in the second phase of the study, principal component analysis, due to their statistical weaknesses. The remaining 19 items were tested in the third, exploratory factor analysis, and fourth, confirmatory factor analysis phase of the study. The exploratory and the confirmatory validations of the scale revealed that charismaphobia scale was sufficiently reliable and valid to be used further. The convergent validity of charismaphobia scale with generalized anxiety disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and narcissistic personality disorder was also highly significant, revealing statistically significant positive correlations of charismaphobia with generalized anxiety disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, and obsessive-compulsive disorder. According to the findings, men projected significantly higher levels of charismaphobia as compared to women. Men also projected significantly higher levels of self-exhibition and anxiety as compared to women. The differences between men and women in narcissistic trends and media consumption were not statistically significant. Married men projected significantly higher levels of charismaphobia as compared to unmarried men. Married men also projected significantly higher levels of narcissistic trends, media consumption, and anxiety as compared to unmarried men. No significant differences between married and unmarried men were found for self-exhibition. Married women, on the other hand, projected significantly higher levels of charismaphobia, self-exhibition, narcissistic trends, media consumption, and anxiety as compared to unmarried women. People with chubby body shapes projected significantly lower levels of charismaphobia, self-exhibition, narcissistic trends, media consumption, and anxiety as compared to people with muscular, curvy, and thin body shape. People who considered themselves younger than their actual age projected significantly higher levels of charismaphobia, narcissistic trends, media consumption, and anxiety as compared to people who considered themselves as the same of their actual age or older than their actual age. No significant differences were found for self-exhibition based on subjective age. The chronological age of the respondents had significantly positive correlations with charismaphobia, self-exhibition, narcissistic trends, media consumption, and anxiety. The educational level of the respondents had significantly positive correlations with charismaphobia, self-exhibition, narcissistic trends, media consumption, and anxiety. The aforesaid study conducted by Dr. Sukoon was aimed at rationalizing the construct of charismaphobia and developing a valid instrument in this regard. The study achieved these objectives successfully. The clinical picture, that is, the symptoms and diagnostic criteria for charismaphobia, was developed accordingly. The instrument, which revealed 4 factors for charismaphobia, namely self-exhibition, narcissistic trends, media consumption, and anxiety, was found reliable and valid. The development of charismaphobia may involve several psychosocial causal factors. Since the construct is entirely new, no earlier studies were found in this regard. Anxiety is the core ingredient of charismaphobia, whereby a charismaphobic person would get abnormally anxious about missing the relevant information on the internet or social media to get latest updates on fashion and beauty trends. The charismaphobic anxiety can also be due to the lack of social admiration against one's physical attractiveness. The generalized anxiety disorder, which has been found significantly and positively correlated with charismaphobia in the current study, also have similar symptoms, but the object of anxiety in generalized anxiety disorder is usually unknown. The charismaphobic anxiety, on the other hand, is a known anxiety which is developed for being or getting unattractive and involves sociocultural pressures. The earlier literature reveals that being physically unattractive and having a negative body image has been recognized as an important public health concern worldwide. It is associated with frequent dieting, bulimic symptoms and dietary restraint, weight gain, poorer psychological well-being, depression, and lower self-esteem. Greater satisfaction with one's body and physical appearance, on the other hand, has positive associations with healthy behaviors, higher self-esteem, sexual satisfaction, and overall psychological well-being. The earlier literature also provides us with sufficient evidence for a positive connection between several dermatological conditions with mental disorders. The prevalence of psychiatric disorders in the patients of cosmetic dermatology is twice as high as in general dermatology patients. Dermatologists must be aware of certain beauty-related psychological symptoms such as body dysmorphic disorder and should know about the mental health of their patients. Psychodermatology is a rapidly growing field which combines neurology, mind, and skin. Charismaphobia and charismaphobia scale would be the valuable contributions in the field of psychodermatology as well. The study by Dr. Sukoon revealed that the presence of charismaphobia, that is, the fear of being or getting unattractive, would also require people to indulge in excessive and persistent media consumption to explore latest trends in fashion and beauty. Media plays a critical role in the development of body image in men and women both. Media has a proven role in changing perceptions of beauty, inducing age-related fear in public, constantly showing negative images of growing old to provide the marketed strategies to avoid aging, promoting the businesses of anti-aging products with an idea that beauty is strongly associated with youth, building rapport between cosmetic producers and consumers, presenting females as sex bombs by unrealistically editing pictures and videos of women through software, promoting eating disorders, and decreasing self-reliance and decision-making, promoting body dissatisfaction. Media affects men and women both, directly and indirectly. Women, however, take this effect more seriously. Media promotes cosmetic surgeries, and celebrity idealization is one of the strongest reasons of undergoing cosmetic surgery. Social media is more interactive than the traditional media in developing beauty standards. Self-exhibition and narcissistic trends are also the essential aspects of charismaphobia, through which people desire to be socially appraised for their physical attractiveness. The association between pleasing appearances and positive human qualities is also a cross-cultural trend. Unattractive people are socially perceived to have negative personality traits. Such stereotypical perceptions of societies play their negative role in lowering self-esteem and developing health-related hazards, including depression and eating disorders. Body image, that is, how one perceives one's own body, is an important part of a good life, and a negative body image can result in destructive behaviors. A positive body image results in better and efficient outcomes like life satisfaction and happiness. Therefore, people all over the world spend a huge amount of money on their desire to stay young and attractive, that is, by purchasing anti-aging products. The current study has also revealed significantly positive correlations between charismaphobia and narcissistic personality disorder. A strong desire of admiration is the fundamental feature of narcissistic personality disorder. However, in charismaphobia, this strong desire is based on the physical attractiveness alone and is driven by the sociocultural pressure. The additional findings of the study by Dr. Sukoon reported higher levels of charismaphobia among men as compared to women. Traditionally, women are regarded more cautious about their physical attractiveness and beauty. They visit dermatologists more often than men and spend more money and time on cosmetic products than men. They want to achieve the unrealistic beauty standards as advertised in media. However, in the past few decades, the concept of gender has been significantly modified and the traditional sex roles are no more accepted, especially in the Western world and individualistic cultures. Men and women both desire to be attractive and socially appraised. Studies have also reported that the trend of visiting dermatologists is increasing in men as well. Marital status was another differentiating aspect for charismaphobia in the current study. Married men and married women were found to have significantly higher levels of charismaphobia as compared to the unmarried men and women. The role of physical attractiveness in mate selection is quite established. Likewise, the role of physical attractiveness is also regarded important in marital satisfaction, marital sustainability, and prevention of infidelity and divorce. Aging is another possible factor involved in the development of charismaphobia. The findings of the study by Dr. Sukoon have revealed that people who considered themselves younger than their actual age had significantly higher levels of charismaphobia. Aging has been related to poor self-esteem, behavioral outcomes, well-being, and self and identity. Getting old is assumed negatively and societies do not view elderly people as attractive or desirable. To summarize, being attractive is a basic human desire. Attractive people are taken positively, and the less attractive or unattractive ones are ostracized. The social pressure of staying physically attractive may lead to several negative outcomes such as the excessive use of cosmetics and medical procedures. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders and the existing literature did not propose any appropriate title for the fear of unattractiveness. The aforesaid study by Dr. Sukoon constructed a new phenomenon, charismaphobia, and elaborated on its pathological and diagnostic aspects. The study incorporated qualitative and quantitative methods and involved 2,904 participants in 4 phases. The first phase involved interviews with 62 purposefully selected female clients to explore the symptoms related to their worries of being or getting unattractive, along with interviews with 30 cosmetic dermatologists and 73 beauticians. In the second phase, a scale was developed on the identified symptoms and was administered on 344 participants. Exploratory factor analysis of the scale suggested excellent reliability and validity. The third phase of the study involved 1,407 participants and additional data was collected to confirm the validity and reliability of the scale further. The fourth phase of the study was carried out to measure the convergent validity of Charismaphobia scale with generalized anxiety disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, and obsessive-compulsive disorder. The findings of the last two phases of the study were also analyzed for the differences in Charismaphobia based on gender, marital status, age, education, body shape, and subjective age. Charismaphobia, the newly developed mental condition in the current study, comprehends the unattractiveness-related pathology under one label, and differentially excludes the related mental conditions such as body dysmorphic and dysmorphic-like disorders, adjustment disorders, gyroskophobia, and Dorian Gray syndrome. Charismaphobia scale, a newly developed self-respondent measure, was tested and retested. It was found highly reliable and valid and proposed a four-factor solution comprising of self-exhibition, narcissistic trends, media consumption, and anxiety. Men, married, and people who considered themselves younger than their actual age were found to have significantly higher levels of charismaphobia as compared to their counterparts. Age and education reflected significantly positive correlations with charismaphobia and its sub-factors. Charismaphobia, that is the fear of unattractiveness, was presented as a new construct in the aforesaid study, along with its clinical picture and diagnostic solutions. Thanks for listening. To read the entire paper, kindly visit www.dersakoon.info.